There's a distance between us. It's getting hard to reach out. Haven't seen you in seasons, but all I hear is your voice. I know my limits, you can break me down, but I'll stay till the finish line. And I've been counting minutes for quite some time now, just to see you again. And I've been counting days to get away, to see you again, see you again. Been fighting ways to get away, to see you again, see you again. We got millions of reasons to let it all go. Hope we're not too broken. I know I'm not always strong, and I've been counting days to get away, to see you again, see you again. Been fighting ways to get away, to see you again, see you again. See you again.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to tonight's fixture between WarGames and Los Vaqueros in ESEA Intermediate. My name is Yumi, and I'll be your caster and host for this evening. This is a replay, as you can see in the top right of your screen, so that does mean that we have full control of what happens in regards to the stream, at least as far as the rounds go. But I've been told that this is quite an exciting one from both sides, so very interested to see how things play out, as we'll be going straight into the pistol round. Los Vaqueros starting on the T side of things, and it does seem like, as opposed to the traditional lineup, we actually have somebody else taking up the reins, and it will be Retro stepping in instead of Oman for the team, as Los Vaqueros will make their way swiftly towards this B-bomb site. Swift on the entries. They're not actually going to be able to find anybody on the side of WarGames, as they're playing a complete retake setup. They tried to go for the boost, but ultimately found nothing. Rin will find the first kill into Smokey, but the bomb's been planted, and so they need to go a little bit swiftly here. Shaz gets him on the boost as they attempt to find something further from it. Retro chiming in with one of his own. Pat Vader getting a trade towards Fuzzy. It's now just True in a 1 versus 3. Not a lot of HP to work with, and isolated behind the smoke, there's not going to be much hope in him winning the round. Los Vaqueros shaping up to take the pistol in the very first round of this first game. I do believe we have as well a second match coming up straight after this game. They're hoping that, time allowing, we're able to get both in through, but because this is a replay, we can potentially accelerate that process. A good start, and a very strong one from Los Vaqueros to start off this game. Picking up the pistol round, they're immediately going to upgrade into 4 SMGs. WarGames opting to save their weaponry, or rather not force up in this second round, as we're seeing more and more teams do on maps like Overpass. We'll see ultimately how it favors them. It's usually indicative of teams that like running a double AWP setup to go for that second round force, so that they can afford that AWP as fast as possible, as well as get the additional utility to counteract some of these rushes. But because they had nothing invested, they're just going to set themselves up and group up together to get some of these weapons out of the hands of the LVAC side. Retro will do a pretty good job of dealing with those players on the flank. Will ultimately get taken down by Fuzzy, and that's an SMG lost, but ultimately not too much of a big deal. Ten Blades, I think, is a new addition to the roster, if I'm not mistaken. It has been a little while since I've casted a Los Vaqueros game, so some changes have definitely occurred. I remember casting Retro when he used to be a part of this lineup, but now has since moved himself to management, so taking a step back from competitive play. He's still able to keep up, as we're seeing so far. 3 kills for him in these 2 rounds, as Los Vaqueros, because they still have a majority SMG buy, they're going to immediately stampede towards this B-bomb site, see if they can't capitalize on some of the lack of head armor on these players, and they're caught out on the boost. They get dropped on J-Woods. A lot of HP taken down on 10s, but Rin, he's able to creep past the smoke, find 2, a third as well. The bomb's been planted, but he's trapped behind the smoke for now. Pat Vader will deal with the flank, as they brought it into a 2-on-2, but Pat, he just sits on 1 HP. He's not going to be able to contribute too much, as it puts a lot of pressure here onto Retro. He will get taken down by the SMG of Rin. That's some additional money in his pocket. On for the ace is Rin, as his teammate goes for the defuse, but Pat, he's able to get the 1 kill. Oh, he doubles down as well. 1 HP. A triple kill for Pat Vader to get Los Vaqueros to a 3rd. That almost looked like a done round. Trapped behind the smoke. They should have had some indication of where he was, but losing track of him and not dealing with him, he was able to get rid of the diffuser and dance around that pillar. Three to 0 is WarGames, despite the better buy coming into that first gun round, are still going to be on the back foot. They do upgrade some pistols, and they're going to look to get aggressive with it, but MKY will get taken down. True, actually getting spammed down on the corner. It will prompt him to peek, and Shaz is ready with it with the AWP. Not too much loss so far. Retro may go down here with the AK as he's getting flanked out, but his teammates are there to support. Ooh, they actually find 2 kills with the CZ of J-Woods. He's the last remaining player. He can't salvage any of these weapons, but some good damage done by him. Oh, yeah, I'm sure Pat's loving this. The clutch god himself, the young Paddington. Also for Vaqueros, if they get to 5 or 6 rounds on this T side, it could shape up to just run away with this game. Shaz and Retro will find 2 quick kills. WarGames immediately on the back foot have lost the majority of their A side presence. And Los Vaqueros have identified that. They're immediately going to go towards this A execution, but they're losing out on all of the gun battles. Pat Vader will eventually line up a trade, but he's very far and away from his teammate in Shaz. And that now puts Shaz alone on that AWP. The smokes are down. He does have a full belt of utility available, but doesn't want to use any of it lest it give away his position. Because they have really no indication of where Shaz could be, they've actually separated themselves on the WarGames side, one playing respectively towards that B bomb site. We'll see if this smoke actually goes where Shaz wants it to. Ooh, he knows the lineup. That's good for him. I got stuck on the smoke, but we have tricks of the trade to get away from that. See if Shaz has a trick or 2 up his sleeve as well. Creeping up towards the ESEA site. So many angles to clear all at once. He's somewhat paranoid to the fact that tap will start to prompt the rotation from J-Woods towards the ESEA bomb site. But Shaz, he needs to find isolated engagements. Rin, maybe the first point of contact here. The Molotov will begin to flush out that default position. Shaz needs to go for the peek, finds the first. The second may just soon come straight after, switching back to the P250. J-Woods will immediately take the peek. The M4, a superior weapon in the engagement, and WarGames will finally get their first round on the CT side. They even recovered the AWP as well, so that economic decision I was talking about in the second round now somewhat called into question, because now True will be the one to hold the AWP for the side. Hasn't started off the game too hot, 0-4 currently, so the AWP could definitely swing things back into his direction. They still need to fight back against another full buy on the Los Vaqueros side. Jazz back on the AWP, is full belt of utility on the majority of their players. Smokey will expend most of it, making somewhat of a presence towards this B bomb site. Keeping these players honest, not allowing them to begin an early rotation. It may have even caused the rotation had they stacked 3 players towards A instead. But 2 quick entries. Tens and Retro both stepping up to the plate. Retro not even a part of the starting or active roster. Now falls onto Rin as he's the first available player on the rotation. Fuzzy will still be the anchor towards the B bomb site. Takes down Smokey, who was lurking, waiting for those rotations to come through. See if he could find anything on the opposite bomb site. But so has Pat. He's lurked up onto A, and he's gotten a whole lot of real estate for Los Vaqueros to work with. Pushing himself in towards CT. He's going to hear any of these rotations should they come swiftly for the WarGames side. And just like that, the bomb planted, and at that very same moment, Retro and Pat both chime in for kills. Pat and Retro, the leaders right now for Los Vaqueros. 9 kills and 7 kills respectively. I do believe this will be a WarGames timeout. I have been informed ahead of time that there is somewhat of a pause I need to be aware of. But we have the technology and we have the resources to skip past that, because I have been told it does last quite a while. Of course, this is my first time casting for Los Vaqueros since taking part in the Omen UK Open Challenge, the caster competition. Just to give you guys a little bit of an update about what's happened with me. I did since win that. Got to travel to the Face It Studios in Santa Monica as a result of that. And I was super happy about that. I was really excited. I do thank Los Vaqueros for sort of believing in me early enough. But sentiments aside, Los Vaqueros are going to be immediately stampeding towards this A site, making their way up long. They've bypassed and mitigated this stack that WarGames have implemented into the round. They played the majority of their players over towards that B-bomb site. Only the one P250 available on J Woods, and he's had some pretty good performances with these pistols so far. Okay, Shaz. No scope required. Just hyping up J Woods a little bit with that P250. Immediately shut down. This is looking to be a relatively easy cleanup for the Los Vaqueros players. Rin, the last player in Connector, only has a USP to work with. But with most of them pushing in through CT spawn, he could potentially find one weapon, bring it into the next round if possible. But legged up by the AWP of Shaz, he's surely not long for this world as they are hot on the hunt. Retro does get taken down, but they're at least there to trade things out. No weapon brought forward. It'll be WarGames once again in a bit of a shoddy economic situation. They did win one round and immediately get reset, so Los Vaqueros, they may have to deal with this sort of half buy coming in from WarGames, but still not a proper gun round for the CT side. The majority of these buys have utilized these SMGs. Smokey will do that once more, finding the first kill. He's going to immediately start to chase these players down. No armor available, or no head armor rather, for either of these two players. Tens will find a kill respectively. Rin, the last remaining player on the site, and despite the fact that they found these entries, they're still going to try and employ this boost. Spotting the player out, they do relay that information to those entry players towards the B-bomb site. True, the last remaining, as he sits in CT spawn. That Molotov should flush him out. In fact, the double Molotov. Sure, why not? If one flame doesn't do you justice, the second one will almost certainly do the job. 7-1 lead for the terrorist start of Los Vaqueros. Round number 9. No AWP picked up by WarGames. We did see True use that and recover that from the LVAC side earlier on. It seems like they're going to find marginal success in the start of this round. A 1-for-1 exchange. They've tagged down Retro as well, who did eventually find the trade. Given that low HP, they're actually going to try and go for this boost, I think, towards short. Not finding anything immediately, so double backing through connector. They did establish control earlier on into the round. Ooh, and that's not going to be good for the WarGames side. True has disconnected. He's dead, and nobody has been anywhere near enough to take the kill credit. I'm not sure who would have been given the weapon, or given the kill reward for that. Not that it has too much impact on the economy for Los Vaqueros, but recognizing that there is weakness on the WarGames side, they're going to start marching their way up onto that A site. They deal with the immediate player at MKY. Jay Woods does punish Tens for getting a little bit aggressive towards CT spawn, but he loses a lot of HP in the duel. Jay Woods will now wait for his teammate to rendezvous. Begin this retake on that A site, but this flank from Pat Vader is perfect. The timing impeccable as both the players immediately trying to make their way up the steps. Pat Vader there on the flank. Los Vaqueros have secured themselves a huge lead coming into the first half of this game, and I do believe this is the long pause that I was told about. So using the ever so awful demo UI, I'm going to see if I can skip ahead. It was at 17 minutes. Been told that it is a 33-minute pause, so this should be about it. Oh, it's a bit longer. Of course, it should be at like 50 minutes. Why am I stopping at like 42? This is why casters do not do math on stream. Not the best at it. I think once the demo UI catches up, because the demo UI in Counter-Strike is... it certainly needs some work. Alright, I think we're good. Everybody's in the server. Aren't you glad that we at least have the ability to skip past that? Thank you, the management, to the management rather, for at least informing me how long the pause should last. And we're right back into things. 8-1. Yeah, it's definitely not the best if you want to make a frag movie, that's for sure. Like, oh, I want to see how that round played out. Let me just wait 30 seconds to let the demo UI catch up. Los Vaqueros, they're up against the pistols. They're immediately just going to stampede onto B, and Retro's found 2 quick entries. Crunching on through connector, WarGames will at least have some sort of a counter. MKY chiming in with 2 of his own. He's dealt with those immediate 2 players. Shaz as well getting dropped by Rin. Oh, and Face D may just be a huge thorn in the side of L. That could have potentially flanked out Tens, but doesn't line up the shot successfully. Smokey taking him down to 24 HP. Once again, 10 will be blind. Yeah, the best case scenario here for Face D is potentially get one of these rifles, bring it into the next round. If he can retrieve one and successfully get out of there. I think Tens just narrowly didn't spot him as he crossed, but eventually finds the kill, recovers the AWP as well for Shazinator, as his name would suggest. And WarGames. I believe that's a casual playlist in Counter-Strike. The WarGames, you can do like the Flying Scoutsman. Maybe WarGames should go back to that. 1-9. Los Vaqueros have a huge lead coming into this T side half. Doesn't seem like they're showing any signs of stopping just yet. A couple of clutches have gone their way so far, and so this could certainly be a 5-4 scoreline. It seems like LVAC on an individual level have been able to step up when necessary to bring themselves to this point. Some early control and presence towards middle. WarGames are nowhere near it, playing back towards these bomb sites. Already losing that first player in MKY. Just trying to play the trade game. Jay Woods will line one up with the AWP. Face D. Ooh. Not able to get there fast enough on the rotation. Fuzzy will eventually find a kill onto Smokey, who tried to push through towards CT spawn. Tasty and Fuzzy, though, what do you do in a situation like this? You're down 8 rounds already. The smart play is likely to go save, but you're already down so many rounds. You somewhat need to commit to this. Fuzzy will make an argument that the commitment to this retake is the correct decision as he brings it to the 2-on-2. Pat Vader will line the second one up, and it is dealt with eventually by Tens. And that's one of the problems. If you find one of those kills fast enough on the retake, sure, you can make the argument that you can jump in, but WarGames... Actually, I've just realized, coming out of that long pause, that Face D is actually a replacement for... I think it was True? I was gonna make the comment that J Woods isn't the one that usually opts for the WarGames side, if we saw True pick it up beforehand, but it doesn't seem like they were able to get him back in the server, so they had to source an additional player. It seems like time after time, Los Vaqueros are finding these entries. Sure, this time MKY is able to get a trade and bring it to equal numbers for now, but it's somewhat disconcerting that they're consistently losing that opening duel. Especially when you need one of these gun rounds to go well on the CT side. The silver lining, of course, for WarGames is that they do at least have max money loss bonus to sit back on. So even if they continue to lose these rounds, they should be able to at least afford up some semblance of a bye moving forward every single round. You had to buy ESEA for this match as well? Oh no. Okay, Woods getting the first kill with the mag. Retro will get 2 on the trade. So far, so hot for Retro as Rin and MKY are once again... It's going to be a 2 versus 3 WarGames. They have to continue to commit to these because they need to get some rounds on the board. Rin will find the kill into Retro. MKY jumping and juking. He'll find the kill into Shaz. Pat will eventually line up the kill, but playing towards sandbags, it will be a difficult situation. Rin will eventually win out the clutch. That is the first time a clutch has gone the WarGames way. Actually, the second time that WarGames have been able to successfully convert a clutch. And I believe it was Rin that won the last one as well, so able to step up when necessary. WarGames will get a second round on the board, but not at a... It's certainly not a free round, as only one player surviving their economy is not going to be in the best of states. They still need to fight back again against the full buy of Los Vaqueros. And their stand-in in Face D is still struggling in the same respects that True was struggling to start off the game as well. One engagement, but Smokey doubles down on once again another double entry from one of these players on the LVAC side. Fuzzy will deal with the immediate aggression, unable to line up anything further. Tens will take him down. And it's time and time again, WarGames are in these 2 versus 3s. Tens isolated on the bomb site. The smoke doesn't quite go where he wants it to. Shaz trying to help him in that regard will get the kill as well just before the smoke blooms. And Face D surely just run away and save this AWP because WarGames have been reset again on the CT side. This is absolutely terrible if you are a WarGames fan, but of course you're on the LVAC channel, so I suppose if you're here, then you're probably not a WarGames fan. Los Vaqueros will get themselves to round 11. So far, the only person that's been able to find kills with this AWP has been J Woods. They're going to cycle that weapon instead into Fuzzy's hands. Does he have a good spawn? Yeah, he has a good spawn for Monster, so that's likely why he's asked for that weapon. taking some damage on the jump. It's a bit of a whiff on the movement, but he won't whiff on the shot. Shaz and Ader will immediately get dropped. Smokey, very quick, trying to hunt this trade down, and he will find it successfully. Changing up the angles, he gave him a little bit of a bait and switch. This 10s will get the one player out of connector. MKY could potentially recover an AK here, do some additional damage, but it's almost deja vu every round. A 2 versus 3. It'll be MKY and Rin again in that situation. Rin not able to find anything this time as MKY just looking to hightail it out of there with that AK-47. Trying to smuggle it across the border. The WarGames are in dire straits. 2-11. The CT side, typically the more favorable of the sides on this map. Usually a 9-6 scoreline is the most common result in favor of that CT side, but Los Vaqueros have completely thrown that out the window. Thrown that idea against the wall, and it's absolutely shattered. WarGames, if they're able to maybe get a third round, they at least mitigate the importance of that pistol round a little bit. They'd still need to consistently win gun rounds on that T side to bring things back. MKY with that recovered AK will find a kill onto Pat Vader. Rin chiming in with a kill of his own. They've found 2 kills in quick succession, but they'll lose one of their players in Rin. Retro losing a lot of HP in the exchange. Smokey will as well capitalize on Jay Woods pushing off of short. Face D, I think that's his first kill of the game so far. And a big one at that, as WarGames are looking to get a third round on the CT side. Fuzzy is going to be able to flank out Smokey, pushing through the monster tunnel. I don't believe he spotted out the bomb in doing so, but he certainly applied some pressure, and Shaz will need to be a little bit careful as to how he approaches this round now. Bomb's still where they left it at the start. Does have an AWP and some equipment to work with, but the numbers certainly favor the WarGames side, and things could get a little bit precarious here. Daz just creeping past him. Doesn't have a whole lot of time to work with, and I don't know if Face D doesn't seem to have heard him as he begins to thunderfoot his way towards A. He needs to just accelerate and not really care about too many of these angles, lest the time work against him. Throwing down the Molotov, throwing down the smoke. He will get himself the plant, but spotted out. MKY baiting out the first shot. Shaz will get dropped, and WarGames have successfully gone themselves to a third round. But oh boy, oh boy. Things definitely not looking good for the WarGames side. I don't know how quickly we get into the second half here. Ooh, almost immediately. I was going to do some more demo trickery, such that we wouldn't have to wait too long. It didn't seem like that was necessary. So, WarGames, this pistol round, you really do have to win it if you want to start believing in the comeback. It'll be a long road if you do not convert this one. You'll need one of these miracle force buys to work out, but we'll see how things go. Utility equipment brought up by Fuzzy. You'll throw the smokes and use the flashes. It's a very similar pistol round that we saw on the opposite side of things. Los Vaqueros getting the plant down on their T-side pistol with very minimal resistance. It'll be the exact same affair for WarGames. 2 players do get dropped eventually, but Shaz has to clutch things out. Does win out one of the first engagements, but MKY, he's going to be playing the bomb. He's going to hear that smoke being deployed, and he'll swing out wide and take Shaz out of the round. That second kill, or rather, that first kill from Shaz on that retake, certainly a swift one. Second one, even swifter. WarGames, they've done it. They've at least added some confidence to their meter. Somewhat like a parking meter. You do need to top that up once in a while. Add 50p to it. Or add a few dollars to get yourself another hour. MKY will get himself some eco frags as well. That's another way that you can top up that meter. Jazz only finding the 1 kill. It's an SMG dropped as well. They'll know where he was last positioned, and they'll see if he can maybe punish the WarGames side for pushing any further towards the B bomb site. Jay Wood's playing an off angle. We'll be able to punish him as he does recover that Mac 10. And WarGames will get themselves to round number 5. (12-5). This will be the first proper gun round from the Los Vaqueros CT side. Actually, no. My fault. They half buy into this round. Going for the double save. They're actually valuing the additional utility. They do have a decent enough round buffer that they can make something like this work, especially when they're doing as much damage as this. Bringing the first 2 kills their way, they are going to lose 3 altogether. Now pushed to a 4th as Retro did get spammed through the connector wall. Ends with an MP9. Because they did double save going into this, it makes sense for Tens to commit, regardless of what equipment he has available. Just because, one, he's been able to equip the SMG, and that does mean that he can potentially find some additional cash, that weapon. Every single kill certainly does add up on that CT side. So far, it's all been WarGames. 6 rounds, and 3 rounds in a row now successful on the second half. Los Vaqueros looking to answer back with a full buy of their own. Shaz back on the AWP as we did see in the first half, but rifles galore outside of that. WarGames immediately setting themselves up in a passive default. 2 players doubled up in every location outside of the connector. Connector, one place that you don't really need to be too concerned from a CT side push. Usually when that's implemented, it will be a force buy round or some sort of a gimmicky eco. But for now, WarGames just playing it safe, making sure that LVAC don't get too aggressive and catch them out as they begin to forge this comeback. Ooh, Smokey. They actually push off of short down through the tunnels, and they found the first kill. MKY will at least find a trade on the other side of the map, but the Molotov will stop them from progressing much further. Molotov actually recovered from MKY, could certainly prove useful on this take and potentially the post plant, but he'll use it on the aggression towards A. Shaz will get another kill around the smoke. He's gotten 3 so far, but cannot find anything further. Rin now left in a 1 versus 2 to clutch things out for the WarGames side. Does have the bomb strapped to his back, but the time will prove to be of a huge resource for the Canadian player. Second Molotov deployed on the site. Rin does have a chance to escape, but gets caught in transition. Will line up the first, ducking and jiving. Smokey will eventually find the headshot. He was there for the trade. He wasn't able to reposition just how he would like. Rin and Los Vaqueros, they found the first gun round. They found their first round on that CT side, and a lot quicker than WarGames were able to do so on their respective half. Is that the comeback now shut down for WarGames? Will that disparage them? Because some of these players haven't been able to afford up an AK coming into this round. MKY could have potentially dropped the weapon over, but it instead will be Face D to invest in a Galil, and he doesn't even have armor. That's a small, I mean, it's not really a small mismanagement of the economy. That's a fairly large one. One of their players that does have armor in the round, that did have an AK as well, will get dropped. So Face D will recover that from his fallen comrade. Does as well pick up a flashbang, but he had to use a smoke to get it. unsure whether Chaz could have still been posted with the AWP, so he wanted to play it out safe. But now WarGames from a 4 versus 5 will look to try and bring things back. It does seem like they're regrouping towards this B bomb site. For now, the utility being cycled on the LVAC side. MKY looking to set up a flashbang to allow his teammates out of that position. First kill will go their way, but Smokey will get the one in response as he barrels through the smoke. They brought it to equal numbers for now, as they did go 2 for 1 at that monster tunnel. They're going for the boost, however, on the LVAC camp. On that rotation in through CT, Rin will find a kill in response. They've brought it to a 2-on-2. These players tagged down oh so low on Los Vaqueros, but the nade does so much for Rin. Takes down Pat Vader, who was tagged. It will be Shaz on the AWP in a 1 versus 2. Looking to, actually not even looking to reposition. He's immediately just going to hightail it out of there. If only he knew how low these players on the WarGames side were, he might have just committed, maybe swapping out to a rifle to find those 2 kills, but instead it will be WarGames resetting the Los Vaqueros economy, as the round they did win came down to a 1-on-1. So as the timeline would suggest, WarGames, they're still here to make the comeback happen. Quickly pull up the scoreboard. Not quite as big a disparity in kills between each of the LVAC members. In fact, a very respectable performance from Retro, who is just standing in for Los Vaqueros so far. Meanwhile, on the other side, Face D hasn't been able to quite lend himself or lend his team the same supportive hand, as this round isn't too much to talk about. Although they have brought these 2 players to 2 HP. Only pistols available for Los Vaqueros to work with. Really not able to get anything further. Face D will take down Pat Vader. And MKY, although he is low HP, a player did not have armor, and so aim punch definitely proving a huge factor in those engagements. Shaz will look once again to save this AWP. Of course, if you are just joining us, this is, as is shown in the top right corner, this is a replay of a Los Vaqueros game that is taking part in the ESEA Intermediate season. I don't know what they currently sit at in terms of score. I do not know the result of this game either, as I was given very specific instructions to avoid all of that. So my eyes are as fresh as yours in seeing how LVAC do in this one. It certainly seems like they should be able to close this one out. 5 rounds, all that separates the 2 teams now, but they did say in the first half, the CT side, definitely the more favorable of the 2. That won't lend itself to being too helpful. That smoke deployed towards Monster. Bit of a whiffed one at that, but doesn't seem like WarGames will capitalize off that fact. Going 1 for 1 so far, as Retro did find the kill with the Deagle. Oh, but the timing here, Tens, he's pushed through middle and almost catches Rin in the back. Rin has been a stellar performer so far for WarGames. Currently sitting at 25 kills. Has stepped up in a number of clutches and has been able to just shut down some of the aggression from Los Vaqueros to start off this T-side half as well. Ah, I see. You're 1-1 before this match. I've been informed. The question is, do you go 1-2 or do you go 2-1? We'll find out after this break, or immediately. Is that There's no way that's a crack peek angle. I was gonna say. That would be insane if that were true. Not to mention incredibly situational, but that would also be insane. Jazz getting smoked off. Retro's gonna peek on wide from the stairs position, takes down Rin. That's their lurker towards the A side. They've at least been able to establish a foothold of the B bomb site and get the bomb planted. But Shaz will take one down on the cross. Smokey out of the connector brings both of these players down oh so low. Face D on 2 HP. That seems to be the magical number for these WarGames players staying alive in these situations. As Retro still looking to find more, but Shaz, as he goes for the tap, will certainly bring things close. He'll go for the tap while holding the defuse, but he gets baited out. He cannot land the shot, and he's going to immediately run away. Doesn't have a kit available. This will be another one round for WarGames in a clutch situation. These post plants have gone phenomenally for WarGames thus far. In fact, Fuzzy bringing... almost falling to the bomb there. He did the math, crunched the numbers, dialed it into his calculator. I'm stood roughly 30 paces away from the bomb. I should be okay. And so, WarGames. You're starting to make me a believer here. Los Vaqueros have not really established too much map control into these rounds. Really only getting aggressive when they don't have much money to work with, and WarGames have been playing out this passive default time and time again, and it's been successful. A very different style than we saw Los Vaqueros employ on that T side. Going for almost unrelenting aggression to start off this map. It seemed to catch out WarGames time and time again, so they're almost counteracting the same playstyle. Or they're counteracting a similar sort of tactic that Los Vaqueros, should they have gone aggressive on CT. So far, WarGames have expended a fair amount of utility to clear out some of these positions, but so far, not a peep. Los Vaqueros playing towards the respective bomb sites. This is Smoko. Rock? It has to be a front. Okay. Doesn't seem like it's much of anything. That smoke will not be all too important to this hit. It does seem like they've decided the B site is the weakness for Los Vaqueros, but as they set themselves up for that execute, they're immediately doubling back through connector, and that's the huge advantage you have as the terrorist side when you have control of that position. Pat Vader will deal with the lurker in Fuzzy, so no potential backstab available for WarGames, but now in this 3 versus 3, Tens will bring it to a man advantage for now, allowing these players out from that stairs position. They'll need to find more kills on the retake here. Pat will line up a second, but Rin, again, stepping up to the plate. He'll clutch it out, as he has done time and time again for WarGames. Brings themselves to double digits, brings the lead just within 3. And so far, Los Vaqueros, only the one round on this CT side. I'll again pull up the scores just to sort of highlight the performance individually from Rin. 28-20 is the rest of his team lagging behind. 16 and rather 19 the closest players just behind him. Sure, the kills don't really tell the full story, but the big player for the WarGames side has been dealt with, so the rest of the players now need to be able to recover this round, especially with those 2 AKs now in the hands of Retro and Shaz. Oh, Fuzzy's gonna punish the aggression there. Nice little bait and switch setup. Those players stampeding past that ladder. Fuzzy will take full advantage of that as Retro tried to catch them in the back. I don't even think that flash went all the way into the bathrooms, but regardless, some good utility being deployed from WarGames. The thought process is there. The shadow giving up Shaz's location. Hey Steve, if only he knew what was lying on the other side of that APC. So it seems like the game plan has changed for Los Vaqueros in this round. Tens recovering that AK. Smokey somewhat committed to this retake or finding a couple more exits. Because he has fallen oh so swiftly, TenZ will immediately go to save that gun going into the next round. And a similar story that we saw from WarGames on the CT side, Los Vaqueros are going to be on max money loss bonus, so they at least have that going for them. They've brought this game oh so close. It's not quite what you'd like, considering a 12-3 scoreline was certainly on the cards. They could have potentially shut the game out, especially when they won that first gun round. As it does seem like a tactical timeout has been called. This time, I imagine, from Los Vaqueros, as the last two have been from WarGames. Usually in similar straits. To see if some sort of a strategy shift is utilized. So far, when they have attacked this B site, the kills do seem to stream in from that short position, but they're able to get to the plant relatively safely. The A site not quite as exploitable, I suppose. And WarGames have every bit of momentum coming into the second half, bringing the lead just within 2. Los Vaqueros look like they're on the edge here. They haven't been able to get too much going for themselves on this CT side. WarGames will once again set themselves up in this passive side default. Try and deal with some early aggression should that be utilized by Los Vaqueros, because especially when you're using this default heavy setup, the response can usually be for the CTs to try and push. You've been allowing them onto your sites and not lining up the shots. So something does need to change in terms of your strategy going into these rounds, but WarGames are in the best available setup to deal with that from the get-go. Shaz, that is disgusting. MKY, he sort of peeked towards the site, didn't see anything, decided that nobody on Los Vaqueros was peeking, and Shaz has just decided, you know what? I'm going to take this connector angle, and he's walked straight into his crosshair, so Los Vaqueros will have a man advantage, and at no loss, really, to any of their players. Smokey sustaining that damage earlier on through spam, but that should be a kill that TenZ has every day. Face D jumping straight into his line of sight, not even having his weapon readily available, will land the first an initial headshot as he equalizes, and these grenades being deployed. Retro, I believe he could have been setting himself up for a flash, but instead takes the battle towards short, and J-Woods surviving on 1 HP. So many rounds WarGames have survived on 1 HP, 2 HP. And it's again a 2-on-2 that they're able to make use of that low HP player as an additional body. Oh my god. They're gonna go for the boost. There's no way you expect that in a retake situation. They're gonna catch them completely unaware, and J-Woods is left alone. Shaz will commit himself to the defuse in the Molotov, but J-Woods, he's been able to reposition. Pat will eventually get the trade, but this is gonna come in close. The defuse should go their way. And Los Vaqueros have once again won out a 1 versus 1 to bring themselves a second CT side round. That is actually mad to go for that boost. That is such a risky play to go for, but Los Vaqueros have been able to make it work. That was Pat's call to go for the boost. He's an absolute madman. But what might be even more mad is the fact that they've just jumped straight through the smoke, and they've come out on top of the engagements. Pat will eventually line up 2 with the AUG. But it's again equal numbers. TenZ as well getting a kill from Connector. It's suddenly thrust onto Face D. Hasn't had the strongest of performances so far, but he gets the kill he needs to on TenZ. That allows him to reposition, could potentially go back towards the A site. And Shaz he seems somewhat clued into this, especially because Face D has thrown that Molotov from that short position. This could potentially give up the game here. Shaz will begin to hear these footsteps. Face D aware of where Shaz could be positioned. And this will be a great round for him to finally bring things through. But Shaz has the opportunity to kill, but misses the shot. Face D will eventually line things up. He gets the 1 versus 2. And when the world needed him most, he did not vanish. Not the Avatar. Face D with a big 1 versus 2 to get WarGames back on track. Once again resetting the Los Vaqueros economy. So I believe the active roster, Bot George, is instead of Retro for Los Vaqueros, it is Oman with a 4 in his name. Because numbers are cool in names. Totally not talking about me, by the way. And I believe WarGames also are using a stand-in in Face D. True was the player that they had at the start of this game, but he seemed to have dropped connection, and so Face D had to quickly purchase an ESEA subscription to take part in this fixture. So, silver lining for Los Vaqueros in this round, because they're only on pistols. They've gotten aggressive, and so Pat will have signaled to his teammates that most of the B site is clear. But although they are somewhat prepared, although they are there in heavy numbers, they're not going to be able to find too much for themselves in this round. Fuzzy brought down to 42 HP is as far as things will go. And that will be all that they're able to get. Just some damage. WarGames have almost successfully tied things up. They were 12-3 down at the half. Swapping onto this T side, neither of these teams have really mounted a successful CT side. Albeit, Los Vaqueros have brought things a little bit closer in almost every single one of the exchanges. WarGames, when they were on CT, seemed to be constantly in 2v3s, being a man down. Whereas Los Vaqueros have been typically in 2v2s. Good start to this round for Los Vaqueros. Although they did eat a lot of damage from utility earlier on into the round. At least able to get an AK into their highest HP player in Pat. Problem is getting away with that weapon. Pat will find an additional kill. That's another rifle that can be recovered. And now these pistols need to act like bodyguards. In fact, they've been smart about things. Giving every high HP player a weapon will allow these pistol players to be a little bit more frivolous. They can explore their options, and in fact, they're going to go for the boost as one of their options. Shaz may go down to the... I knew he was going to take some damage, but I didn't know if he was going to get dropped all the way. Could have gone down to the bomb there. He wouldn't have lost too much, but... yeah, he subbed in at round 10. He's not really had the best of performances. But, he did have a pretty big 1 versus 2, so... I guess that's all that you can really ask of him. And he's brought the comeback into fruition for WarGames. They've equalized now. And so Los Vaqueros now want to buy. They'll have to get this round or the next one to at least comfortably get themselves into an overtime. Preferably this round. Such that they aren't sort of doubting themselves going forward. They'll need that sort of halt to momentum for WarGames to potentially close out in overtime, should it even get to that point. So far, some pretty good Counter-Strike from both these teams. Trade after trade. It's not usually one player just taking over the game. Although Rin has been a huge performer for WarGames, it's usually his teammates setting him up in those situations. Going for those double swings, Rin is usually there to trade and definitely seems somewhat proficient in those clutch situations for the side. In fact, Rin has gotten himself to 31 kills. So he's broken past the 30 bomb in regulation. Jazz rattling off a shot. Unsuccessful on the first one, but see if he's able to get to the second and third strike, because everybody knows the third strike you're out, but MKY going towards B will get dropped by Retro. MKY not really able to establish too much of a foothold, but the time working against WarGames here so rapidly. They're gonna have to commit to this plant. Retro, knowing that Pat in fact cheating past the smoke, they'll find all the kills that they need to, and Retro with a huge round. 4K with the AK. And he's just the stand-in. He's management. I guess you don't get into management if you're not able to manhandle these players. Typically, it's your own players, but he's doing quite well at dealing with WarGames thus far. 15-14, WarGames. It's now do or die. They've mounted the comeback so far, but they need to convert this round to bring things to OT. Let's just be an ever so depressing 16-14 after bringing things so far from the brink. And it seems like WarGames have stepped away from that default heavy setup. I think they've realized that Los Vaqueros aren't likely to get aggressive. They're moving instead more towards this execute style. Molotovs deployed will prevent the push for now. Retro not able to spot the shadow there. Could potentially see him, but the smoke maybe not quite as we see it. Tunnel vision on short. He lost the supporting player to deal with Monster. J Woods will find 2 kills. He's found all the 3 on that B site. As it's a huge step up for him, bringing things into a 2 versus 4. Shaz and Tens need to commit to this. Tens has to be the one that catalyzes this retake. For now, the smoke will prevent anything. Rin spotting him out on the radar, not able to line up the shot. Shaz thinking about doubling back to the save, but has to commit for it. Fuzzy will take him down. We're going to OT, ladies and gentlemen. 15-15. WarGames have successfully brought this back to an even playing field. And because there is another match straight after this, I will fast forward past this. Just in case players take a little stroll, take a little break, because I imagine that was a very stressful endeavor for everyone involved. But I've been impressed. No clear side has the advantage. Although, you look at the kills and how they're spread out on the side of Los Vaqueros, you certainly favor them going forward because the kill discrepancy isn't quite as large. In fact, they sub True back in. Why have they done that? Face D has been trying his heart out for this entire game. You sub him out in OT to get True back into things. That could be a huge mistake because suddenly he doesn't have too much of a scope of how this game has gone. Sure, he played for 9 rounds on that CT side, and that could certainly factor in when the sides do swap, but he hasn't touched the T side. He hasn't really understood how any of the LVAC players have played thus far. He'll need to be brought up to speed, and let's hope he's able to perform. He is their primary AWPer for the WarGames camp, so potentially bring something different. And aggressive in the bathrooms. Will spot out the initial contact from WarGames, but unable to retreat as they do siphon him off. So he's just going to have to commit to that position for now. Shaz will do his best to hold the front of Banana. Ultimately having to give it up. WarGames are making a lot of presence over towards B, and so that's causing a small rotation thus far. Pat Vader will go for the jump spot. They've actually lost track of Tens. I thought they were trying to hold him in that bathroom position, but instead they get caught unaware of his location. Tens, though, what is that from him? He gets one kill, immediately starts making his way down Banana. WarGames will catch him in transition. MKY almost capitalizing on Shaz's position as well. The time did run low, but WarGames are able to secure themselves into a post plant as they've brought it to a 4-on-4. Retro, as well as the rest of his team, are all attacking from that same position, but Shaz hits the shot he needs to, just spotting out a small bit of the head of that first player. MKY and True, 2 versus 3 is True, the player that hasn't been in the server for most of this game, now thrust into a 1-on-3. Smokey will land the shot with the AWP, blows the smoke off his gun, and Los Vaqueros will take the first round in OT. WarGames, you've come back oh so far. Do you let it slip in overtime? They're going for a connector stack. They're immediately starting to stampede through. Shaz will line up the first shot. Tens alleviating some of that pressure early on is True. He gets his first kill of the game, and it's a big one at that. He's dealt with that immediate A-side defense from Los Vaqueros as they took down Tens earlier on. Pat spotting the player going forward, but he's going to bypass them altogether, trying to find the timing here. He's going to find the first kill. Fuzzy getting Molotov'd out of position will eventually deal with Pat, and he's going to go further forward to try and help out his teammate, and he's successfully done so. Brings the attention away from True. Smokey in the 1 versus 3 himself, spotted out on the connector flank. This is surely just a save here. There's not much you can accomplish from this position. Let's get the 1 kill, but tag down to 13. He will think better of the whole situation and immediately try and take Sanctuary on this B bomb site. But True is here, and True will land his shot. So the first round that he's really contributed in, and it's one of the overtime rounds. Every single overtime round is equivalent to 5, if you think about it that way. Of course, overtime, only 3 rounds each half. Each one crucially more important than any in regulation. Regulation now has completely been bypassed. It's not really a huge factor so far. So any players that had performances earlier on, none of that matters. That's a lot of damage done by Retro. In fact, he finds the kill onto True as well. He spammed through the smoke. He finds one as well in the monster tunnel. MKY, the player that was tagged down earlier on, does get finished off, and Pat Vader will find 2 with the AUG. Does get finished off by the grenade of MKY, but this is the low HP player on the side of WarGames, and the bomb was dropped towards Monster. The question is, will he be suspecting of this flanking position in Tens? Start to make his way back, but he has the cross towards the bomb. Tens surely has every advantage here. Will find the kill. Los Vaqueros will hold the advantage going into the second half. This is about as close as it gets. It was looking like a blowout in the first half. I mean, marginal flame, but you've given up a 12-3 advantage going into the CT side. Sometimes at no fault of your own, because WarGames have certainly proven themselves formidable, especially some of the individuals that have stepped up from that team. See how things go. They do go for the boost. They do smoke off the tunnel, but they stampede straight through. Retro there with the swift entry. J-Woods unable to land the shot. It will instead be Fuzzy to pick up where he left off with the AWP. But stomping on through. The flashes are perfect. Fuzzy, unsuspecting of the jump straight through the smoke. And in fact, Smokey gets 2 kills straight off of that entry. MKY and True in a 2 versus 5. Things so much more dire than they were in regulation. On the CT side, they're going to be at a huge disadvantage here. Oh, and Smokey, he gets a 3rd as well. Behind the smoke is True. Getting spammed down to low HP. Not much hope in him coming back and away with this round. He does find a consolation kill. From the grave, the grenade will find it. 16-18 as Los Vaqueros are looking to close out this game. No AWPs available for WarGames as they didn't actually have enough money to buy into it, but given that they didn't have too much success in the previous round, instead opting for the heavy rifle setup instead. And WarGames, they're going for this boost on short. It's the first time we've seen this being utilized by either team so far, so certainly catching them out, and True will find the first kill. Gets the second as well, as WarGames, they're making a huge argument that they could come back straight into this second half of the overtime, but MKY spotted out. He does have control of the bomb, but it's immediately given up. The rotations just weren't there from WarGames. What are they doing? They surely spotted the bomb when he found those first 2 kills. They're now not going to have much of a foothold on the safe site. They will try and establish themselves in the boost, but Smokey brings Rin to 1 HP. He'll be scared away from that tactic altogether. It could have certainly brought them back into this retake, but things just not going their way. Fuzzy will find a kill. He gets the second as well, but it thrust onto Retro in the 1 versus 3. Unable to get anything further. Fuzzy with a huge 3k to bring WarGames to round number 17. And that additional body that's created from having that player at low HP. There's been so many situations where WarGames are at 1 HP, 2 HP throughout all of these retakes. And I don't just say that because we're on the LVAC channel, but it has actually been phenomenal how many times they've been able to survive at just a sliver of health. Did I just say health? Oh, a slither of health. Oh, the fast-paced aggression here. Retro and Smokey find the first 2 kills. The third one almost being lined up as well. Rin trying to make a play around the smoke. Will spot Retro and take him back from behind. He gets Chaz as well. These players are dropping like flies to Rin so far as he's gotten 4. Suddenly it's Pat Vader in the one-on-one as Rin. He's looking to ace clutch WarGames, a life on the line, but Pat will shut him down. No ace on the cards. That will be a 19-17 victory in favor of Los Vaqueros at the very end. That was a game. That was so back and forth the entire way through. I wasn't sure who was going to be the one that actually came out on top. I was told it was a good game. I wasn't sure how things would go. I didn't want to sort of take a peek and maybe catch a glimpse of what could have been. But now that I have the result, I can pull up the stats for you guys so that we can all sort of a marvel at those. Oh, nope, I just wanted to fade. That one's my fault. That one's my fault. We'll see. WarGames, they had 6 players on the roster, and they just weren't able to get things done. I sort of criticized them for going into the overtime with the player that did time out or wasn't able to connect or stay in the game past round number 10. But honestly, True found the kills that he needed to in overtime. And maybe that was, I mean, he's almost had the same equivalent amount of frags in somewhat, I mean, just less rounds than Face D was able to. I think he got 5 or 6 of those kills in overtime, or maybe all 6 of the kills in overtime. So certainly able to step up when necessary. But talk about stepping up when necessary. Retro, who stood in 29, 13, and 28. What a man. Pat Vader with 35 and 20 as well. In fact, all the Los Vaqueros players staying at 20 kills or more. Anything that factored in them establishing themselves and coming out the victors in this one. So with that said, that will be it for me. I do remind you, my name is Yumi. My socials should be linked in the title and wherever. You could find me primarily on Twitter. I've recently redone my banner as well and made it look all flashy and professional because, you know, we out here. But anyway, I do believe there will be another game coming up straight after this one. That should be cast not by myself. That will be instead done by the Los Vaqueros management, who have done a phenomenal job. I looked through one of the VODs and they got the voice for it. They can definitely do it. But anyway, I'll be tuning out. I believe the stream should start up back again in just a few minutes, as the other game should be starting up in the next 3 to 5 minutes as well. So stay tuned. There'll be a short intermission, but be right back after a short break. Take care.